Is there a panel in here after 9?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, I need to start. Pretend I'm not on stage right now.
Yes, Monkey Knife Fights is out here.
10:30 a month.
Oh, they're in here?
Yes.
Well, those motherfuckers can wait.
And midnight in Antrim, midnight at
Yep.
Midnight at MCFC is in here as well,
Yep.
but
Yep.
that's why I was asking if the tables move.
All right, so pretend I'm not on stage doing this. And hopefully I'll just check the audio. Let's go.
Greetings, friends and neighbors. I, Mr. Igglesworth, received a massive bag with a dollar sign on it to produce a primetime special for you all. But I must admit, we spent the entire budget on candy cigarettes. So, that's it. Good day. You're still here? Shoot, go away. There's nothing to see here. There's no show. I spent all the money. It's all gone.
Iggy, if you come back in a bathrobe.
That's Outlaws then.
You're still here? That's great. Just great. You win. You win. And now, everyone, it's time for the Iggy Prime Time Special, starring Iggy, with Iggy's guests, Outlaw, and Status, and special guest Dundee. Brought to you by viewers like you and the Bark Foundation. And now, here is Iggy.
None of this has happened. You didn't see anything. Oh, hello, audience friends and neighbors. How are you all doing today? Hi, friends. How are you all doing?
Good.
I can't hear you.
What's up?
I still can't hear you. But that's okay. Through the art of television, you can definitely hear me. And I brought some friends with you today. This is Dundee. And this is a dinosaur. Now, although all plushies should have a name, this one's name is just Dinosaur. So, plushies are really cool because their really only natural predator is bedbugs. And they can tag them along, and really, besides bedbugs, it's just them getting lost is really the only thing you're truly fearful of. Unlike pets. Pets, I've not had a whole lot of luck with. You see, back in 3rd grade, and I'll put my buddies over here, they're such good listeners, just like all my television and audience and neighbors. Dundee likes to sit like that, it's kind of funny. Dinosaur, well, there you go. So back in 3rd grade, there was a kid in school who was super, super popular. And this kid they were super popular because their mom let them basically have any number of rodents that they so wanted. And the trick here is that it was early on in the school year and they would have all these litters, and it was always this cool thing to adopt pets from other school kids. So one day, of course, I asked my mom, hey, can we get a guinea pig? And of course, being the enabling parent that she is, absolutely said yes. So we get all the various peripherals that you need for a guinea pig. The little water bottle that they somehow managed to get one drop out of a time out of, but somehow it's about this big and they drink that all the time. One drop at a time. You get the bags of confetti, which they consider both their bedding, their floor, their everything of their house, and it's like $20 a bag, and we needed to buy like 2 of them. I just had a sibling that also had a guinea pig, that the prices on those things have gone up since. And they also had to get one of their little prison spheres that was reminiscent of the American Gladiators Atlas sphere.
Yep.
Of course, on a much smaller scale for rodents, but that must have been absolutely terrifying. So one thing is, Iggy has lots of nasal problems. And I don't necessarily know if something stinks unless it really stinks. And I can tell you, having a guinea pig then, and having a sibling not too long ago that also had one, they stink a lot, and you need to change that cage constantly. But that's not the emotional scarring experience that I experienced with guinea pigs. So we had the guinea pig for a few months, and ultimately we are feeding the guinea pig their favorite food, which was sunflower seeds. And right then and there, he choked to death or had a heart attack and just died.
Wow.
So, it didn't work out too well. I was pretty emotionally scarred, and you move on. You move on, you learn that you enjoy the pets while you have them, and after a year or so, they had, does anyone out there remember Zoo Books? Zoo Books was, they would always have these wonderfully colorful animals on the front. And we were either doing a unit on school, or I saw this, and I eventually wanted to get a parakeet. And the reason I ended up with this beautiful green and yellow parakeet was because my mom, my grandmother, and I, we would love to go to thrift stores and garage sales. And because I used to run all these like game shows and things I would create at home, and my mom and my grandma were playing board games with me, I would create all these different kinds of game shows, and we'd go through all the arts and crafts and make the various parts that you would need to kind of run it for your plushies at home. So the trick here is that...
Shut up.
We're having a little bit of noise in the background of the studio today. Please forgive that. Television neighbors. Where was I? Yes. So we'd buy. So eventually, I got a bird cage because I had some idea of playing with. We were playing with dolls or something. A bird cage was really, really cool for, I guess, the Barbie Dream House. I don't know. And eventually, it was like, well, let's get a bird. And my enabling mother said, absolutely, let's get a bird. And it was this beautiful green and yellow parakeet, kind of like those macaw colors, or whatever. It was front of Zoo Books. And the trick here is that this bird was incredibly mean. They knew that they looked really good, and I don't know, you would try to feed the bird and see, they knew that they wouldn't bite the hand that feeds, but they sure would kind of nibble on you a little bit. They wouldn't bite you, but they just were incredibly mean. They were so mean that, so you let them outside of the kitchen to kind of play around outside of the cage, or cleaning the cage or whatever. And so the first thing this bird would do is fly out of the kitchen and go all the way to the far corner of the living room, about 20 feet away, and sit on the very top of the drapes and look down on us mere peasants. And only if we offered a little bit of food would, just like the Pope coming out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to appease the gallery below him, this bird would swoop down, take that food, and go right back up to the top of the drapes. And one day, we were outside on the back porch with my mom, my grandmother, and I. My mom was cleaning the cage, and it's one of those that the doors slide up and down. So the bird had this kind of weird feeding mechanism, so it had to be attached to the front door. So like the front door is about half open and the bird's feeding on it. My mom's cleaning out the cage from the other side. And my grandma and I are talking, and we're all kind of half looking away. And that was the moment that I heard somebody go, ow. Then I heard slam, and slam went the bird cage door, and up and away went the parakeet. Now this normally wouldn't be an issue, for it flew about 80 feet away. problematic part was it was about 25 feet straight up into the tallest tree in the neighborhood. And you have this absolutely emotionally distraught child now going, I want my bird, I want my bird. And my mom is grabbing literally every toy, like all the finest of bird seeds, picking out the ones that they know that they would like when they came down to bite at us, and only get the ones that they want. And of course you need the cage too, so you can imagine my mom and I running around the street about a quarter of a mile away with all these things in tow, and we look up and it's so bushy and there's just no way to ever find this bird again. We don't know if it ever left the tree. But one curious thing that day I did notice was that bird that particular day was very, very talkative to that tree over there. And I think that bird was planning an escape and was talking with some hottie over there and said, you're going to escape and you're going to emotionally damage this child. So not all of the times that I've had pets went terribly. There was one pet that we had known as Haley. She was a black lab mix that we used to go fishing at a lake not too far from here, and there was just somebody who had just like that third grade kid had a litter of animals, and we adopted one there, and she was literally like the most coolest chill dog ever. Would chill with you, comes up for pets, everything that you would ever want to do, from playing to just hanging out, whatever. Very, very emotionally companion dog. So I guess what I want to say is that plushies are really cool, but pets do teach us something very important, I think, and that's that just like how we all meet various people at cons and through our lives and everything, is that don't forget the problem that, well, it's not really a problem, that's just how life works, that the only things that you have guaranteed are the things that are in the past and the things that you experience here and now. And I think that's something that kids really get, because when they go out on that playground, they just go for it, right? And never really count on the fact that there may be a tomorrow. Makes me think of a little song I heard on the radio about my distraught pets. They just don't want to stand. There we go. Let's see the best way to do this here. Don't mess up any of this wiring. Let's see if we can hear well here. Is the mix good? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I just didn't want to have to get up and fix it. Come outside, she says to me, as if I knew just what she'd say. Come outside, we'll watch tomorrow. Pull the curtain on today. Come outside into the tall grass and the old corn and the shit. Come outside, oh child, into the wild and weep for it. And all along I know I don't know why. And it takes me through the meadows, and I've got a rifle on my arm. And the rabbit won't stop shaking, but the life is gone. And there is blood upon the clover. Oh God, his eyes are open wide, staring up at me in infinity and the shrinking English sky. And all along I tell myself I don't know why. As the idea suffices, I can't believe it's mine. I'll make a change. He is wordless and silent, says just close my eyes. I have one eye open to the rain and one pressed to the ground again. And I don't know why, and I don't know why, no, I don't know why. No, they don't know why, no, they don't know why, no, they don't know, don't know, don't know, don't know. Oh, she takes a train to Paris for a weekend with a friend. They take you places, trains and summers at 200 miles an hour that you've never been. Did I ever say, way your breath takes mine away, as I stare out at the grasslands past the living and the dead, matter forming and decaying, a perpetual uprising. Let there be a revolution and a light to lead us on, just a ball of souls revolving, spinning circles round the sun, for the infinite and ageless, for the meaningless and painless, for the times we shook like rabbits, felt like children, made us ask this. Can you see me? Can you see me? Oh, can you see me? Can you see me? Can you see me? Hey, can you see me? For I am changing, but all the same things just come back to haunt me. There are trains that can take a girl to Paris, and there are planes that bring you home. There are some of us that get broken when we are children, and you never get that back once that is gone. And I don't know why, and I don't know why. Sometimes thinking about my pets makes me think about that song. Oh, what is that I hear on the door? I hear somebody knocking over there on the door. I should probably go see who that is. Let's go see who that is over there at the door. Funny, I thought I heard someone at the door. Oh, it's Mr. Alkali from down the street.
You said I got to watch. I'm here now!
Oh, come on in.
Oh, hi!
Watch out for the closet.
I was in there for such a long time.
I'm not sure what you're on about. Let me close the door while you go have a seat in the
Oh,
kitchen.
and
over there.
make sure you lock it.
We don't lock things in the neighborhood.
Just the closet.
Thank you.
How about you sit over there just so I can...
Oh, yeah, no, you need room for your dinosaurs.
Yeah, have you seen them before?
I have not. They're adorable. Hey,
See, that one's name is Dinosaur.
very appropriate name.
And this one's name is Dundee.
Hi, Dundee.
I think the joke we had to do something with Crocodile Dundee. So what brings you over here in the neighborhood?
Apparently, vor.
That's not necessarily something for our
That's
audience
true.
neighbors.
I was merely here to deliver some good news.
Oh, what's the good news?
I had found out recently that your house is so big and beautiful that your taxes are going to be increased by 30%.
Oh, we don't have taxes here in the neighborhood. We just are supported by viewers like you.
Thank you.
I'm moving here. Can I take the trolley?
There is no trolley.
I'm leaving this town.
Well, since you're here, I want to, how about we talk about, we're talking with the viewers today about what it means to be a kid. So what does it mean to you to be a kid?
If we're going to be honest, it's the sense of wonderment. I have two nephews that literally just visited me 2 days before I came to this beautiful neighborhood and knocked on your insanely nice mahogany and gold-plated door, which you sold me at face value, sold the door, and owe me the money on.
You can have the dinosaur.
Yes! No, genuinely, the wild sense of wonderment that comes with being a kid, I actually get a little, annoyed that I can't feel anymore. I had 2 nephews, 7 and 5 at my house. I have a VR machine. They could have played Batman VR. They didn't want to play Batman VR. I have a computer that runs City Skylines at a level that no one needs in this world. Do they want to play any high-end computer game? No. They wanted to whip pool balls at each other from across the pool table and cheered when it bounced off of one of them and went into a pocket. The level of entertainment those children came up with a slab of granite and some spheres? No, I kind of miss the wonderment of being a kid.
Well, you say you miss it, but is there anything that you do today that would to you being still being a kid?
Kinda. I mean, honestly, I truly enjoy live events, live concerts, stuff like that. Seeing something I've never saw before. My first concert was Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It was my first non-furry live concert. So what did I see for my first concert? Did I see a bunch of amazing people playing amazing instruments and blowing my mind with music? Yes. Also, they shot lasers at me. They had snow. It was such a magical, beautiful experience. So yeah, I guess sometimes that little bit of wonderment comes from the experiences. Furcons have that, watching furries interact, watching 600 furries get trapped outside and say, are we going to be angry? No. Are we going to start a cult? Kinda. Right? That was kind of amazing. It was 60 people standing outside in a circle entertaining each other, and that's kind of magical. It's a lot of what the furry fandom is, and I love that so much. I genuinely do.
I remember that when I first sort of met you many times back in the neighborhood, back when I first moved in, you were a magician at times.
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of what, I know you do a lot of improv and those types of things. Former stockbroker, there's a lot of different facets that you had. Is there one in particular that really is about all that wonderment?
So the magic actually is very high up there, even though the story to that isn't very nice. I played LARP and I wanted to steal things better, so I started learning sleight of hand. Cards are easier to manipulate than coins. I'm going to just do that. But if you're talking about something that I do currently, I think the only thing, obviously furry, but we kind of went over that. There is a part of LARP. There is a part of LARPing. If you don't know what LARPing is live action role playing. Live action role playing is, in essence, going out to a forest with plumbing supplies and beating the shit out of each other while playing D&D. Beating the poop out of each other while playing D&D. It's live action D&D. And you say this the best. Actually, you're the one who's... When we do improv at Furry, we are on top of a naked stage, usually remove everything but 4 chairs and 4 microphones. It's a totally empty stage, and to watch people go up there and to start the scene and to interact with things like a beautiful golden mahogany door that we all accept is right there and that you sold on my behest and owe me money for, which we all legally agree on. But that's the essence of LARP to me, because at LARP, we play at a giant forest preserve. What do we have? We've got a few wood cabins, and we've got each other. What do? We fight in a kingdom. We fight on different planes of existence. We roleplay with kings and emperors. We have tea parties once a month. And why? Because when we're there, when you are there with a group of like-minded individuals, and that's the key to this one. That's the key to furry to me. It's not just one. Iggy can tell you there's a door there 1,000,000 times over. If you don't want there to be a door there, there's no door there. But not one of you called out on the door. And when you play LARP, you are all part of that community. You are all in the kingdom. You are all in the location that the plot team has told you, and your mind fills in the rest. And to watch people play characters that they're not, to the extent that Furry does, but then going higher because we're only there for 3 days, this is the only time we're going to play our characters, and you really fall into them. When I got killed, when my character got killed after 15 years of playing him, it was an event. We lost a character. Like, that's a level that you really don't get to experience unless you truly open yourself up to that experience. Like, I was still there. I was going to be there forever. This was Nero. I was going to play another character 20 minutes after I died. But in that moment, we all celebrated the character that I was. And we've done that for 20, 30 people who've lost their characters. And that's the level that you get into it. And that disassociation from reality, that letting your reality be built by those around you, by their decisions, and by those that are the gods, the people running the game, is just something pure and magical. And there's really not a lot that I can say about it other than it is some of the best times of my life. Wow. Just being able to be something I'm not, to the extent not just furry, because I think a lot of us, and I hope this is true, I know that we make little changes. I'm much more open and outgoing as Alkali. But to go to a LARP and to be a 6'8" ogre warrior who has had a full military background experience, who believes the ends justify the means, that's not me at all. And to get to see what that life is like, it's special. It's very special, and to me, that's about as close to my childhood as I tap into anymore.
That's wonderful. And I know you have to go get to you're going to be an ogre at the LARP down the street.
Yeah,
I won't keep you. But it's always a pleasure to see you, Mr. Alkali.
It is such a pleasure to see you. This is really cool. This is a good idea.
All right, would you like me to help you?
Oh yeah, please, the door is gigantic and
very
heavy.
heavy.
Oh yeah, no, hold on, we both need to open this, right?
Don't forget your dinosaur.
Oh, my dino. 1 second. What? You want to stay here? Why? Oh yeah, he looks tasty as shit. You're right. Okay. They want to hang out with you.
Alright.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
I got the door.
Man, that Mr. Alkali, I don't know who he's talking to out there, but, well, say la vie. Oh, what a pleasure it was to see Mr. Alkali today. And talking with Mr. Alkali made me think about about billiards, because a few weeks ago I was at a community center and I was shooting billiards by myself because I was waiting for something else to clear up. And all of a sudden there's this small child approaching me who's about this tall and asks if they can play with me. And I don't know where their parents are or anything like that, but it's a busy place. And I said, sure, absolutely, that's the type of person that I am. And I would like to give them a good experience. And I don't know how good they are at pool or anything, but let's have a fun time. Nothing else going on. So as soon as I say yes, this child's eyes just absolutely gleam. And he started grabbing before I could even take another shot, he started grabbing all the balls on the table. And I go and grab the rack, and I figure, okay, I got to figure out what game we're going to play. So I ask him, what do you know how to play? 8-ball, 9-ball, and this child looks back up at me perplexed, as if I just caused an immense rift and our tenuous grasp on this relationship that we're forging. And I realized that I need to check myself a little bit here, because I might know 40 plus different pool games and various billiards and billiardings. But this child probably knew one of two things, 8 or 9-ball, and considering he grabbed all of the balls on the table, we're going to go with 8-ball. So we rack up 8-ball. I break, and then it is this child's turn. And the first thing to me is I realize that this child is this tall, and the table is about this tall. Wait, strike that, reverse it. But it's still not good ratio here. So all I can say is the first time that he was about to line up the shot, I could already feel that everyone was looking at us, even though they weren't, because he was about to land a Boeing 747 onto the fairway of the golf course here, if you could pretend that the cue stick was the airplane and the fairway was the felt of the table. So I immediately realized I needed to intervene here. And so I gave him some pointers, and thankfully he learned how to shoot a little bit better. And of course it was difficult because of the height. So we get to playing, and he's shooting a lot better. And I don't know how many times he played, but he's clearly new, he's young. So at some point, this kid's really smart and witty, and he realizes that he's a kid. He wants to win the game. And I have to figure out some way, and this is what I'm going to teach all you kiddos out there today, is the art of reverse pool sharping. And the art of this starts with aiming for the side cushions right next to the pocket. So it looks like you're trying to make a legitimate shot. And you get a nice little soft shot, and it just misses, and it's on the side near the pocket. And you continue to do this as this child is occasionally potting a ball, but it's very not consistent. And certainly we reach a position where all of my balls are in front of a pocket, and now he's starting to hit my balls in by accident because he's hitting it straight, but it's just kind of going anywhere. So I have to invoke phase 2. Phase 2 is when we start hitting our own balls back and then also trying to ricochet his balls in front of the pockets. Now, this works to some extent, but the kid is, again, this tall, and the table's this tall. Strike that, reverse it. And I realized that, well, he has to basically be near a cushion, because it's very difficult for those that don't play a lot of pool to arch the ball. To arch the cue as you're shooting the ball, he can't reach very far. So I start masterfully placing the cue ball in ways that he basically has a straight shot. And even then, thank goodness, this child, like I said, was very witty and smart. What he would do is, when I missed a shot, of course, it was his turn. When I made a shot, it was his turn. When he potted a shot, sure, it's his turn. When he missed a shot, it was still his turn. And when he scratched, of course, it was his turn. So, all said and done, the kid had a really good experience, and it made me think about my first childhood, if you will. Growing up, so I mentioned that I grew up with my mom and my grandmother, and we play all kinds of games and hang out. And there's a point where your parental units basically go, you need to go somewhere else, not here, only child. So that other place was this person next door who went by the name of Mr. B. And if I could, he was an older gentleman, and if I could best describe him, he basically was the combination of some kind of Samuel Clemens, Huck Finn type character. Remember the character Farmer Jack? He basically kind of looked like that guy. He had to have a straw hat on his wall, and just sitting in this field of reeds, just pulling you in. And so we developed quite a rapport, and essentially after school, I would come home and have one of those snacks with the little thing that you open with the pretzels, and it had the little red stick that got the coagulated cheese you put on it, and then of course I'd have to squeeze it, and of course I'd beg my grandmother, who at that point was already sick and tired of me, would say, hey, can I go over to Mr. B's? Absolutely. So I would go over next door, we'd exchange pleasantries with his wife. I don't know if he had any kids. I don't think he did. I never saw any. And I would then be led down into the senior pleasure dome. In it was a fully kind of 70s style with all the kind of shaggy and plushy carpets. The whole thing was fully finished. It had a full competition billiards table, a full doubles tennis table, and just because we're trying to recreate the recreation deck on the love boat, a 14 by 5 or so cutout space of the carpet to play shuffleboard. So it was such a fun experience, and he was such a wonderful guy. We talk about whatever, and play pool. He'd teach me how to play pool, table tennis, shuffleboard, whatever. Teach me about stocks, or just whatever was my interest, he would encourage that. And it was such a formative time because I had a lot of cool figures like that in my life. And it's just one of those things that when I think about that experience I had with that kid, that could be something really important. You don't necessarily know that an experience you have with somebody may lead down the road to something that's really positive in their lives. You may never see it. You might meet somebody for a few minutes at a con, but that might be a really impactful moment in their lives. You just don't know it. And it reminds me, there was actually an experience at MFF not too long ago. There was somebody that approached me after Who's Line, and I actually got to feel the impact of something firsthand. I used to host like Werewolf, Lupus and Tabula, Mafia type games. and we would have a whole crowd, but sometimes we didn't have people for a game. So I, of course, me being me, I have all kinds of different games in my back pocket, and one of them was called Personal Torture. And Personal Torture, for those that out there in the and our audience neighbors know about it, it's like similar to a press conference. We send somebody out of the room, tell them they did something, and it's sort of a puzzle riddle for them to figure out what the clue is to inform everybody in the room. And it's not meant to be something to belittle someone or anything. It's meant to be a fun time, and people that are really into puzzles enjoy it. So we bring them back in, we play for a little bit. It was rancorous laughter, and because every time we play the game, it turns into something. Did I kill that pimp in the back of the taxi cab? Which, of course, the group emphatically says the answer to that is no. But then if they ask, did I kill someone? The answer is yes. It's a little bit of a grammar trick. So this person didn't. They didn't get the answer, but they really were kind of a big into riddles and puzzles, and they didn't want to know the answer right then and then in case we had to play it again at some other point in the future. So since then, about 8 years passed, and this person approached me after Who's Line. And the first thing that I love when furries do is like remember me, and they hide their badge. And I remembered exactly who they were. And that just was like the Green Lantern, like with the ring, just like injecting just awesome emotions into this conversation. And then the next thing they asked was, okay, what was the answer to that riddle 8 years ago? And I said, okay, you got to be ready for this. Are you really ready? And they said, yeah. And I told them the answer to the riddle. It has to do with the grammar trick of the last letter being a vowel or a consonant. And for those that know Kermit the Frog out there, one of my puppet friends, they did that thing that Kermit the Frog does when they suck their mouth in for how smug they looked. And thankfully, I didn't get Will Smith slapped at that time. But we exchanged pleasantries, we caught up a little bit, and that was just such an awesome moment, and it just reminds me to think of just the powerful impact that all the little connections, not just here up on stage, but all the people that you meet at a con. And like, I'm no rock star or anything, but it's sort of this relationship with a lot of the music that I listen to on the radio that talks about sort of the relationship you have as if you're any kind of traveling performer, or if you just travel the cons a lot. A lot of the connections we don't necessarily keep together when we're not on the road, so to speak. And I got a little song about that. Hopefully I put that down right here. There it is. Beautiful. Just do it this way. I don't know why they make these without a better clasp. No, let's just do this. That'll work. Bobby was a kid from around the town, kicks bumped up and head held down, underwater more than he was up. He dreamed submarines and bottle green, imaginary flight machines, but in blue jean flares he'd bubble like a 7-Up. Everybody wants to know you when you're the only one to know. Shoot it till you feel alive and play one more show. Plug into the buzz and shake it till it turns around. Can't stop feeling the Paul Smith suits and the elevator boots down. Can't help it, and they want you, and you want to, with their lips on fire and your head on screw. But it's time to whip another change and hit one more town. Bobby doesn't know a name, holds on tightly just the same. Sometimes one more night is all you need. I met Alice near the Alamo one summer in San Antonio. I remember her, I don't remember me. Everybody wants to know you when you're the only one to know. And man, anything to feel alive and play one more show. Plug into the buzz and shake until it turns around. Can't stop feeling the Paul Smith suits and the elevator boots sound. Can't help you when they want you and you want to. With the hips on fire and your head on the move, but it's time to whip another change and hit one more town. Hey, Alice knows the secret, and she could tell you now if you want to. 'Cause they want you, 'cause you want to. I stick and spark, pan and glide, and it's hard to feel, and I can't get high, and I don't always understand how to smile. Kids get sick of being bottled up, and it drags you down until you throw it up. Gotta get out of the house, take a ride on the radio dial. Everybody wants to know you when you're the only one to know. Man, everything that feels alive is in one more show. Plug into the buzz and shake until it turns around. Can't stop feeling the Paul Smith suits and the elevator boots down. Can't help it when they want you and you want to. 'Cause the kid's so clean with the soul shampoo. But it's time to whip another change and hit one more town. Yeah, it's time to whip another change and hit one more town. Hey man, it's time to whip another change and hit one more town. Those interns. It's quite loud in back. I think I hear another knocking at the door. Let's go see what's going on over there. Maybe it's another one of our neighborhood friends.
I stole that.
Oh, it's Photo. Photo the Dodo. Welcome in. Come
Photo
over to
brought
my
Status
kitchen.
too.
Oh, you brought. Oh,
Yeah.
Wonderful. It's good to see you too, Status. Watch out for the closet. It's all right. You're past it. You're good. Let's head
All right,
over on to the
fantastic.
kitchen. So, how are you? What were you doing in the neighborhood that brought you over here?
I have no idea why that was the hardest question I've been asked today, but Jesus Christ, I just blanked on everything. I'm so sorry.
Oh, who's this friend that you brought with you?
This is Photo, the dodo.
Photo the Dodo?
Yes.
I see. I believe your paw is up in the.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to, Iggy.
I believe if you want to share with our audience neighbors, is this some kind of puppet? Yes.
Yes, he is a puppet. He was a gift from a dear friend of mine at Wapafwa this year, and I love this little dude. He's just great.
Do you play any types of do you do any shows with the puppet?
No.
No?
So I have taken to learning ventriloquism. In fact, I've been learning it since I was like 11-ish. I'm not very good at it. So I don't do it very often, but yeah, I don't know.
So maybe including that, or maybe besides that, what does it mean to you, since we're talking with our audience neighbors today about what it means to be a kid, what does that mean to you? You said someone's being a kid. What does that mean to you?
Okay, so I guess, all right. So in so many aspects, I am still very much a kid. I am 22 years old. I am still in college, still getting here on my parents' dime. No, I'm kidding. But it's, so in a lot of ways, I still am a kid. I would say what it means to me to be a kid is just not worrying and letting things happen as they happen. It's really interesting. I have a younger brother, and he is 7. And it's been interesting to watch him grow up, because I'm trying to find the right words. I'm so sorry. It has been a very long day. but it's been interesting to watch him grow up, because he is still very much a child, but I swear to God, he is 18 sometimes. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, Iggy. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I think that's a great answer. If there's anything, like, what do you do today? Like, I'm sure there's many things, because you kind of already touched on that. Is there something that you'd like to talk about with our audience friends about how are you a kid today, or like, what do you think about that?
Okay. So I guess probably the thing that brings me the most nostalgia is music. I've been doing music. I've been singing since I could breathe, and I've been playing instruments since I was 10. And I would probably say that's like the earliest memories that I have. I still remember like kindergarten music class and elementary music class, and it just being the biggest factor in my life. So I would say that's probably the biggest part of what being a kid was for me. Was I did a lot of music.
Was there any particular song or a style, or like how you grew up? Is there a particular influence back then?
So there's a lot of them, because I get my music taste from both of my parents. It's cool because my music taste goes from, like, my mother was really into like Billy Joel growing up and Elton John, and I still very much have that side. But my father was very much into like Bowling for Soup, and he was the one that got me into Weird Al. Pretty much everyone who knows me knows I am a massive Weird Al fan. And so there's a lot of different styles, a lot of different nostalgic songs that bring me back.
Nice. So, I hear you have another delivery to make out in the neighborhood. You're doing some type of DoorDash or some type of...
I am?
Yeah, you gotta go, don't you?
I do?
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think you do.
That's probably a good sign, yeah, thanks.
Here, let me help you with the door.
Door. Door's stuck. It's stuck.
Okay.
Bye, Status. Bye.
Bye.
Yay, Status! Yeah, I got out of my other engagement. I'm good until we... Oh, you have 13 minutes.
Okay, we're good. Thank you. Well, it was good to see a bunch of our neighbors today, and the next thing I'd like to talk about with my audience neighbors is, so growing up naturally when I couldn't go over to the neighbor's house, and because it was late, and my mom was really tired from working at the post office, and no one really wanted to play a game. My mom and I would bond over people being lit on fire and being hit in the back of the head with steel chairs. So, back in the day with the likes of those that follow wrestling, Stone Cold, Mick Foley, The Rock, and of course the most insane things that there's raucous fans just cheering, watching the NWO and Hulk Hogan just spend 15 minutes walking into the arena. These are the prime times of wrestling. So one thing about kids that I always find quite unique is that they're really, really good at spotting when people are being fake. And they're very good at catching liars, perhaps maybe with all this AI stuff, maybe they can help spot things, even though they'd be probably emotionally scoring like my pets. At any rate, the trick here is that I think growing up for certain I understood the whole thing was fake and it was all for a show. But the thing that I kind of realized watching wrestling then and now is that there's sort of I know it's fake back then, and of course now, but the trick is back in the day, you watch the bad guys win, the heels as they're called. They win basically every single time. Refs will come storming down into the arena, and as soon as Stone Cold spends 9 months trying to get the championship, as soon as he has one moment of glory, somebody smacks him in the back with a chair and holds the belt up over him, and he's going to lose it, and then he spends the next 12 months trying to chase that back. And it's sort of this almost a weird allegorical situation with real life right now, it sometimes feels, because we see lots of celebrities get in trouble for doing all kinds of stupid things, and sort of this idea, it's almost a perverse idea at this point that justice is something that children expect, but the adults at the wheel, it's almost like Stone Cold driving down the highway, some desert highway drunk, driving sideways into cactuses on his Zamboni. that's sort of the allegorical tale between what's going on in real life and wrestling, it sometimes feels. So I just thought that was an interesting comparison, and one thing I wanted to talk about is sort of this special space that we have that is so much different than, I attend Comic-Cons, gaming cons, Yuma-Cons, anime cons, sci-fi cons, and it's one of the things that's uniquely different about our space is that all of the values and the core idea of kind of how we all came to be and how we get here is they're all intrinsic things that sort of everyone kind of has their own story of learning how to be yourself and present that at all times. And in furry, it's just something that this all started not as a commercial experience. Like, you go to an anime con and there's voiceover artists and it's heavily pushed by the various outlets and corporations that run the whole thing behind the scenes, and you're not going to see your friends necessarily. They might be there, but like, I have a sibling that loves to go to like anime kind of stuff, and they want to really go see some voice artist, and go pay, someone wants to go pay Shatner $200 to take a picture with them or something, and it's the level of what we can do in our space is so much different than what we can do in those other spaces, and just with all of the different things that sort of are threatening our space now, between commercialism kind of creeping in more and unfortunately physical threats and other stupid things that are happening, it's something that in a metaphorical sense that we kind of have to fight for our space a little bit as to where are we going now, because there's lots of us that have been staffed for many, many years at cons, new people coming in, and it's sort of, if I could somehow harness this idea that, sort of like when you go to Chuck E. Cheese for the first time with your friends for a birthday party or something, it's like the coolest place ever, and you're like, how did I not know this place existed? And it's just such a different journey, and one of the things that I find so cool is like Mr. Alkali will run the stand-up comedy panels at a lot of conventions. One thing I always notice is just, I've seen comedy clubs, been there, when there's so much negativity in the air, even if you come up with the greatest set ever, the person before you could have had a terrible show, or just the audience is really drunk, or the owner is just being really mean and everyone is feeling terrible that night. You could have a really good show and it's just really, really negative experience, whereas here, there's sort of a comfort in anyone with the things that I do, or particularly with like the open mic, I think is just a great direct comparison, is that the audience is so supportive, you're all such good listeners, and everyone that's up on stage is basically your friend in some way or another. If they're not your friend now, you might sit down with them later for dinner randomly, and they might end up being your friend or something, or someone you want to talk to after the con or whatever. And that's just something that I never really feel that. A lot of other cons, you go into the things you want to see, and you meet up who you kind of already know you're going to meet up. And I just think it's important to, a lot of the things that I grew up that I thought was really cool with all the game shows and stuff, there's a lot of cool opportunities, and I think it's so wonderful. And for people to come up and play the game shows that I write and all the other wonderful programming, and it's just, I just hope that all of this can continue in some way, and it makes me think of, sort of as my parting thought, is one of my favorite movies of all time. And ends with, of course, Gene Wilder saying, what's the story that happened to the guy who suddenly got everything he ever wanted? Ugh. He lived happily ever after. And I have a little bit of a caveat to that, is that all the work and things that you do that go into, whether it be some playing, pool with some kid and teaching them something, giving them a good experience, or creating all kinds of different panels and having fun doing improv, doing stuff for charity, bring people up that kind of break their social anxiety a little bit, and just have a good time. All these experiences and all the time that goes into build them means a lot to me. And I think that those types of things, it has so much more impact than just something falling into your lap, like some rich person or something. So with that, audience neighbors, you're all special. Love you all very much. And with that, I'm going to head on out.
Send us information on property values. I want to move.
Don't forget your dinos.
Well, that was Iggy's primetime special. Here, have some cigarettes.
Yes!
I only got half a box.
Steal some from him. him. He's
Yeah,
apparently
Rob.
rich and bought me a mahogany door.
I like that mahogany door. Dude, that was cool.
He also only got half a box.
Look, Iggy's a chain smoker. Guys, one more time for somebody doing something very different for a panel. Let's give it up for Iggy. Dude! Iggy, you want to run this one with me at Youmacon? Come on, let's tell all the anime kids their childhood sucks because they don't dress up like animals. Sailor Moon, screw you! Moon Dog FBI!
You know the worst thing about, so I used to watch Cartoon Planet and Super Friends. It would come on at 4 o'clock. And when they brought on Toonami and just ran a marathon of Sailor Moon over all the shows I like, maybe I have a thing.
Yeah, maybe you have a little bit of a... That's hysterical.
Here, let me clean up my stuff so you
Oh,
have to
dude,
stay.
great job. That was cool. I loved it. All right, this is going to be...
That was so cool.
Thank you.
Good job, Iggy. Can you help me?
I think they're going to want this back, but I mean, it's not going anywhere.
Silver Gatoman, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gatoman, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gatoman, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.